This OF star was arrested in Crawford County, and I couldn't believe the charges. So, 32-year-old Michael Wayne Hall was booked into the Crawford County Detention Center on a multitude of charges. He spent a few hours in jail before he was bonded out on a $100,000 bond. This is crazy. So, according to reports, Michael Hall has essentially two cases. The first case involves a woman who left his home or called police after he physically abused her. According to the woman, he attacked her. He bounced her head off the kitchen floor like a basketball. That's a quote. He was harassing her through email, text messages, and sending messages to her through Cash App. She said at one point in April, he choked her until she almost passed out and then threw her on the floor. He also slammed her arms and legs into a door multiple times. Now, this report was received in May, but it seems like Michael Hall was already under investigation because there was a report from January. A woman told police that she came with Michael Hall and another woman from Kentucky, that he promised her that she would be able to make money with them on OF. But then when they got down here, she saw that he was abusive to other women. He kicked her in the ribs, kicked her in the stomach. He made money using her on OF and then wouldn't give her any of the money. And she ended up sleeping in the police department after leaving his home in the middle of the night. Now, according to this woman, she came down from Kentucky with him in 2023. He told her that she would make all this money on OF, but then he controlled all the money because it was getting deposited into his bank account. She told police that she couldn't refuse to film with him because then there was a potential that she would be beaten. And listen, boys and girls, men and women, I'm not sure if you know this, but having sex with someone because you are receiving threats that you will be harmed and not because you actually want to be active with that person, that's called being SA'd. That's called rape. That is not called consent. You are not able to consent if you're being threatened into doing something because you're afraid that you're going to be harmed. That woman told police that whenever she told Michael Hall no, he would get angry. He'd start yelling and screaming and throwing things. So that was all contained in the first report. The second report was because a friend of a woman called police to do a welfare check on the woman after the woman reached out to her friend and asked for help getting to Florida. So she wanted to leave Arkansas pretty badly. Now, when police reached out to that woman, went and did a welfare check there at the end of May, the woman told police that everything was fine. But there was another call for a welfare check to be done on the same woman on June 3rd. And when police arrived at the residence on that particular day, the woman opened the door to police. She started crying hysterically. She ran out of the home and said that Michael Hall had headbutted her twice. She told police that she had proof of injuries that she had received before at the hands of Michael Hall. She also told police that there were times that Michael Hall threatened to murder her by shooting her. In one text message that was listed in the affidavit, it was a text message between that woman and Michael Hall. Michael Hall sent to this woman, and the text message says, "If my phone goes off again, I'm going to smash it into your effing face until there's nothing left." Another text message said, "I will literally kill you." I do think it's important to note that in the year 2022, Michael Hall was booked into the Sebastian County Detention Center 3 times in 1 year for charges that basically are domestic violence. In January, he was booked in for aggravated assault on a family or household member. August 4th, he was booked in for assault on a family or household member, 3rd degree. And then in December, he was booked in for petition to revoke, meaning he did something that was a violation of his release or probation. So I kind of want to say this because I think there will be people that will say, like, why didn't the woman tell police the first time what was going on instead of waiting until several days later, the second time that they showed up when she had newly been abused again? And the thing is that last time I heard, so correct me if I'm wrong, but it takes women on average 7 times of leaving their abuser before they finally leave for good. That puts women in a very difficult position. It puts them in a dangerous position, right? So I am not surprised at all that she wouldn't tell police when something was going on if it wasn't fresh. Because if it's not fresh, he's had chances to smooth it over. Whereas the second time they went out and checked on her, it was fresh. It had just happened. He didn't have time to smooth things over at that point, and she was more willing to talk. And that's just the psychology of it. It's a trauma bond. I'm not surprised at all. I just hope that the woman stays away from him for good. And hopefully, these charges that Michael Hall has been arrested on will keep him away from women. He's a disgusting human being. He's gross. Now, I did say that Michael Hall had a rather large following on TikTok as well as that OnlyFans, which I think is where he makes most of his money. So Michael Hall is Apollo Stone 1776 here on TikTok, and he has over 300,000 followers. His videos get views that honestly I could only dream about. I wish my videos got that kind of views because I have bills that desperately need to be paid and repairs to my home that desperately need to be done. But that's just me, and it doesn't matter here. So back to the story. Michael Hall, he has that TikTok. I went and looked at it, so you don't have to. If you want to, go ahead. I wouldn't advise it, especially if you're like sensitive to this kind of thing, because on his TikTok are videos with girls that look like they just went and took their permit test, like their driving permit. They look like they couldn't be a day older than 14 or 15, in my opinion, because I have daughters that are that age. This is a 30-plus-year-old man. And in his comments, one girl asked if, 26 is too old. And he said, yeah, like he wants them 18 and 19 years old. And maybe you're cool with that. I don't know. I'm not really, because that's like walking the line of being a predator. And honestly, if you're trying so hard to walk a line to not be doing something illegal, but be as legal as possible, be just over the line of legal without getting arrested, you're still a predator, in my opinion. So my opinions aside, Michael Wayne Hall was arrested and booked into the Crawford County Detention Center on charges of domestic battering in the 3rd degree, terroristic threatening in the 1st degree, aggravated assault of a household or family member, aggravated assault of a household or family member times 2, trafficking of persons, harassing communications, and domestic battering in the 3rd degree times 2. Like I said, he had a $100,000 bond that was posted, so he is out. Now, there is reason to believe that there are more victims of Michael Hall and his nasty self other than the ones that have came forward. If you're a victim of Michael Hall, or if you know a victim of Michael Hall, please reach out to the County Sheriff's Office. There's no shame in having been a victim, but please come forward if you have any information so that this can be stopped once and for all, at least where Michael Hall is concerned. And also, if you look up his TikTok, please be careful about giving him views because he is probably getting paid for those. And you might not want to contribute to something that someone so gross is doing. That's just my opinion. What is your opinion on this case?